Hello, welcome to Guest House, Sweet Home for Patients and Families in Chicago. I am Dionne Smith, Director of Development, and I am so happy that you're joining me again for another edition. So, if you're unaware of what we do, I want to make sure that you understand the resources that you have available here in Chicago. And let me pull this up. It's a little chilly in here, so I'm going to pull this up tonight. So we provide temporary lodging when people need to stay close to the hospital, which is very important when you talk about healthcare equity. What happens if you're going through a particular diagnosis and you don't know what to do? We provide that resource that allows you to get top quality healthcare close to the hospital. Saying that, if you've never tuned into this show, each month we talk about a different subject or a different diagnosis because we want to make sure that we shine the light on different charities, on different subject matters that may be very important in the healthcare space. So, this particular episode is going to touch on a personal level. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and for a lot of you who may not know, 1 year ago, or almost a year ago, I was actually diagnosed with breast cancer, which, as you can imagine, is, especially when it's unexpected, it kind of rocks you to your core. And we'll talk a little bit more about my journey. But first, I want to actually introduce and welcome our wonderful guest that we have with us this evening, Christy Russell, who is also a breast cancer survivor, a thriver, as I love to say.
Yes.
And we are so happy that Christy is with us this evening.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
So, I want to share just a smidge information about the fact that at the guest house, we've been in existence for 25 years. And in our existence, our top diagnosis has been cancer. And because of that, we have a wonderful relationship with American Cancer Society. They're a program partner of ours. That allows us to be able to help cancer patients from any hospital. And that's incredibly important because American Cancer Society has amazing programming. Obviously, they are known all over the world, but there's no Hope Lodge in Chicago. So we provide that service that a Hope Lodge would in different cities. So we're so proud of our relationship with American Cancer Society. And I want to get into Christy's story. So as I told all of you listening, I was diagnosed. Obviously, I was shocked. It wasn't in my family. I would love to hear from Christy what her particular situation was, how it touched her, how was she diagnosed, how did it make her feel?
Absolutely. So I was diagnosed in November of 2019.
Okay.
And it was actually a lump I felt under my left armpit. So I kind of noticed it probably earlier on in the year, maybe early in the spring. But at the time I was working at Vanderbilt University, so a busy professional, academic. Yeah. I'm too busy. It's just because I'm stressed. It'll go away. It'll go away. It'll go away. It didn't hurt, but it was odd. So I just kept checking on it, still there. Later in the summer, about August, I called my doctor's office and told them, I probably should come in and get this checked. Right. They scheduled an appointment for me, but again, being the busy professional working woman, kept canceling, rescheduling my appointments, reschedule. I'm too busy to go. About September, as we were coming into the heels of October for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we always do this big drive at the university. I'm a part of it. And the nurse practitioner said to me, she said, you should really practice what you preach and come in and get this checked out. And I felt so convicted. I was like, you know what? You're right. I went in, I got it checked, and I could tell immediately from her face that she was not, something was not right. She wasn't happy. So she scheduled me for a biopsy, went in for the biopsy, and November 19th, I was diagnosed with stage 3 metastatic HER2 positive breast cancer. It had already reached into my lymph nodes and was metastasizing very quickly. So I'm sure, as you realize, once you get that diagnosis, once you get that initial, you hear those words and they say you have cancer, things start happening very fast. I was diagnosed November 19th. By December 20th, I had my port inserted and my first round of chemo because the treatment plan was very fast and aggressive because the type of cancer I had was very aggressive. And they said, we've got to start moving on this now. We've got, a big treatment plan in place. And it was so much information to take in. It was like a whirlwind. I mean, I knew I was tired, not feeling myself, but again, as busy women, mothers, professional women were like, oh, I'm just busy, I'm just tired, I just need to take a break. We just kind of ignore our self-care because we're doing so much for everyone else.
Right.
And I thought, it's just, I've been tired since grad school. I'm always tired. Having kids makes you tired.
That sounds like me. Yes.
That's,
exactly.
that's all of our mantras. I can't think of a time when I'm not tired.
Right.
And we think that is our badge of, I'm strong, I've got this, I'm fine. So started my chemo treatments, and it was just... It was a whirlwind, I'm sure, as you can imagine, which you have experienced. And I really had to take some time and talk to a professional to help me because I said, I have 2 daughters. How do I reconcile this with my daughters? How do I tell my family? How do I tell my friends? How do I, what am I supposed to do at this point in stage of my life? As I'm like, I'm not ready for this. I'm not... Like what? And then going into January 2020, then we're slapped with the pandemic. And the world is thrust into a global pandemic. And Vanderbilt, being at the forefront, started implementing measures very quickly. So all of my treatments, all of my surgeries, everything I had to go through by myself. My family couldn't be with me. My mother, my sisters, my best friends, they wanted to come in. They couldn't come into town to be with me. In our house, in our home, I had to kind of isolate to a separate room because my immune system was severely compromised. So it basically was in a room, in my own bubble in our house while the rest of the world was also shut down. But my husband literally would only be able to kind of take me into a little holding area. Where then they would take me back, and that was as far as he could go for anything. And it was lonely, it was scary, it was isolating. But what it did for me was I realized, I said, okay, I've got a decision to make. How am I going to come out of this? I did a lot of self-talking, a lot of praying. I'm a woman of faith. So I had a lot of friends and family praying for me, but also I was praying as well. I said, God, if you help me get through this, I need you to help me direct my path, what's going to be on the other side. Because I'm going to get to the other side. That's just what I kept saying to myself. I'm going to get to the other side of it. I just need you to help me. What course do I need to go? What do I need to do as a result of this? Because I firmly believe everything happens for a reason.
I do too.
And so all of my experiences through that, everything that I went through, all the women that I met, and also I'm a blogger and content creator, which I was doing on the side. So I shared my story on my social media, and then just all of these resources and people just started connecting, and all these different dots started connecting, and women started to come out and share and say, my goodness, your story is inspiring. Like, you've given me courage, you've given me the hope that I needed, because this is, I was talking about things that not everyone was talking about. I was sharing just my personal woes in terms of my hair is falling out, but I don't like it. And this is what I'm doing to kind of help myself feel better. So those type of things were the conversations and things that I was sharing, in addition to, going to my treatments. And I just started to build and find this community of women who were saying, you don't know how much of an impact you sharing your story has meant for me.
And it almost makes me think that because you were courageous enough to do that, is that one reason why, unfortunately, you had to deal with this journey? Because you were going to be courageous enough to share to help other people
I know.
who are not courageous? Because that's truthfully how I look at any of us who've had someone say to them the C word, right? Cancer.
Right,
you walk
right.
into a doctor's office and that's the last thing you want to hear.
Exactly.
But you look at it and you try to, or hope you can, be strong enough to live your life with courage and with hope and trying to keep your sense of peace, which, of course, all of that's hard because we're human.
Exactly.
And you try to go through this life and you try your best to just make your way no matter what is brought into your path. But I think it's so incredible that your spirit is such that you just inherently felt, this is the way that I'm going to go. This is the path. I may be dealt with this, but this is the path that I'm going.
Exactly. I think, and then also for me, my background, so my parents are Nigerian.
Okay.
I'm first generation Nigerian.
I love it,
So
I love it.
sickness was not something you talked about.
Right.
Right, being sick was something you kept very private, very personal, because it's a sign of weakness. You always want to show yourself strong. You always want to put forth your best foot forward, right? And I think that is kind of a similar theme that runs through our African American community.
That's right.
So, my mother had breast cancer, but we never talked about it. We never talked about it. Like I was there with her when she had her, but she would not talk to us about the ins and outs, how everything went. So when I was diagnosed, I forced her. I said, Mom, tell me about when you were going through. Tell me about it. She said, no, that's in the past. I'm done. I don't want to talk. No, I need to know.
Right.
I need you. So I really had to force her to look at it from a different perspective, that sharing was not showing that she was weak. She survived and made it through.
That's right.
But I need her experience to help me.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. You need to have that strength.
Exactly. I needed to know what she went through, and that would give me a basis to understand what I'm going through. So I think so several other women who were like me, who were first generation from, immigrant families where things like that weren't talked about and weren't just put out in the open. It just gave them a boldness, a courage, because I was just determined. I said, look, I'm not going to disappear into a leper colony.
Yeah.
I said, I may have cancer, but cancer doesn't have me.
That's right.
So we're going to talk about it, the good, the bad, the ugly, and I'm going to still continue to live and deal with everything that comes along with it, but we're going to live, and I'm going to continue to show up, because that's the one thing I can control.
That's right.
I can control what's going on in my body.
That's right.
I can't control what goes on in life, but what I can control is how I show up to deal with these things that come into my life. That's kind of where my mindset was, and kind of what propelled me to, how I approached it. And people were saying, oh, you're so strong. As if for me, it was a matter of how I needed to survive.
Right.
It was survival.
Right.
I really can't sit here and say, oh, I think I'm the strongest person in the world. To me, it was a matter of, this is what I need to do to survive. And this is the mindset that I need to take to get through all of this.
To get through.
Because it's a lot.
What do you think about when you were diagnosed in terms of the screening? What would you advise others when they're thinking about, okay, I feel something.
Yes.
But I'm too scared. I'm too nervous. I am not sure. I think it'll be okay.
Exactly.
If I leave it alone, it'll go away.
Right.
And that's one thing you hear all the time.
All the time.
Oh, it'll go away.
It'll go away.
It'll go away.
It'll
be fine.
And I mean, I had that mindset for a minute. It was just more so, I'm too busy. It's fine. It'll go away. But actually, deep inside, intuitively, I knew I should get it checked. But that's that fear, right? The fear of, but if I go and they tell me something's wrong, I'm scared of that. But what's the alternative?
Well, what is the alternative? That's right.
That's what I'm saying to everyone listening, everyone watching. What is the alternative? Listen to that voice inside of you. Listen to that intuition. We know ourselves. We know our bodies. Listen to that voice. And you've got to be your own advocate.
That's right.
You have got to be your own advocate when it comes to your health.
That's right.
And that is something that I learned, that I talked to so many women, and they were afraid to ask their doctors questions when they didn't understand. And I would ask, well, why did they say this, or why did they do that? Well, I don't know. I'm too scared to, like, I'm just the patient. I'm not the, but it's your life. It's your body.
That's right.
It's your health.
That's right.
You have to take control of it and speak up. And that is one thing that, I mean, ever since becoming an ambassador with the American Cancer Society and making strides against breast cancer, that is one thing that I've been saying at everything that I say. You have got to be your own advocate. Listen to that voice inside of you that tells you that something is wrong, and advocate for yourself.
That's right. And I know that you are a Portraits of Hope ambassador.
Yes,
and I know that look at that beautiful lady right there with all those other fabulous survivors. I love that photo. How did you get connected with that? And what does that really mean to be a Portrait of Hope, Portraits of Hope ambassador?
This past year, being a Portraits of Hope ambassador has just been a phenomenal honor and blessing. So, like I said, I started to share my story in my socials and moved from Nashville, Tennessee to Chicago in the summer of 2021. So again, continuing to share my story. And I noticed, just more and more people were reaching out. So when it came to Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I mean, literally sometimes I would take the whole month and just kind of share my story and advocate. So I started to get just messages from ACS Illinois and other breast cancer organizations saying, we love how you're sharing your story. This is so great. And as a content creator, I did things with Susan G. Komen Foundation when it came to breast cancer awareness. So I was contacted by Daniela, who I absolutely love and adore from ACS. And she told me about the Portraits of Hope and Making Strides, and this is the first time Chicago has had a Portraits of Hope. So
that's what I was going to ask you.
We were the first inaugural class for Chicago for Portraits of Hope ambassadors.
I love that.
So it's a group of 8 women chosen from the Chicagoland area, from different backgrounds, different walks of life, different types of cancers, different places in our journeys, to come and be connected to one another, to form a network, to be a resource to one another, to be an advocate, a voice of hope, and also to raise very important and necessary funds for the American Cancer Society. So, and what it has done for me personally, it has created this network and sisterhood of women who, it's one thing to have the support of your friends and family and loved ones, and I had support of coworkers and colleagues, and I mean, I really felt supported. Even though the world was in a pandemic and we were isolated, they came up with just the most beautiful, creative ways to, show me their love and support and things like that. But when I was in the room with these other 7 women and we were sharing stories and we got it and we didn't have to go further to explain, like we knew, and the tears immediately because it was an unspoken language of this community that we were just kind of this club that we were kind of thrust into together, but we got it and we understood. And I mean, there are women in the group that are lawyers. One woman was she participated in Iron Women competitions.
I love it.
A strong, healthy, fit woman, and she was just like, breast cancer was the last thing in the world.
Thank you. The last thing. The last
so thing. Women from different walks of life sharing our stories, our experiences, and in different places of our journeys, but that common bond of that mindset of, we have cancer, but cancer didn't have us.
That's right.
And we want to spread this hope to others. We want to join in this fight and this mission to bring awareness, to create a network, to provide resources, and also to raise money.
Well, and I'm wondering, what would you tell other women who, about their own experiences, do you feel like they should share more? Because I think a lot of times, we tend to go internal. Yes. And I think especially as Black women, and I'll just say that Black women in certain areas, our numbers continue to go up, even though they may be even with white women. But when it comes to, sadly, those that may pass away, they may be higher, which is an issue and something that we really have to tackle. We as Black women have to speak up more.
Yes.
We have to do exactly what Christy's talking about. We have to speak out, tell our stories, support each other.
Yeah.
And I know that Voices for Black Women, ACS, is really trying to just get Black women to just sign up.
Absolutely.
Just to track your health.
Absolutely.
That's what it's about, tracking your health so that we can combat this horrid disease and eradicate it and try to make sure that we have more of us, people that are still surviving and thriving.
Absolutely.
Versus the other direction. But is there anything that you could say that encourages women to want to speak up for themselves and,
yes,
and feel like they have a voice?
They have a voice, absolutely. But I will say though, it's not a force. You know, it's not something you want to force anyone. You share as much or as little as you want based on your comfort level, because that's your personal life, your personal fight, your personal journey. But when it comes to advocating for yourself, that's not the time to be quiet. That is the time to be loud and to be bold and to be consistent. Do not be afraid to be nagging. Do not be afraid to, beat that. If it sounds like you're just kind of beating a drum and no one's listening, continue to beat that drum. If you feel like something's wrong, keep knocking on the doors until someone opens and answers. Because I can't tell you how many women that I have talked to that they felt something was wrong, and it took them knocking on that door until finally the right person opened and said, yeah, actually you're right, something is wrong.
That's so important.
So I think that is because sharing, some women are just not comfortable. Health is I understand and realize it's a very personal thing, and it's a personal journey, it's a personal battle, it's a personal struggle. I would not advocate that anyone share anything that they're not comfortable with.
Agreed.
But what I will say is when you are in that room with that doctor or the medical professionals and there are things you don't understand, ask the questions. If there are things that you need explained to you again, don't be afraid to ask them to explain it to you again.
That's right.
If you just feel like something is just not adding up, say it again and again and again, because you have the power to use your voice to take charge of your health. To me, that is the most important message. And as you go in your journey, the more comfortable you feel sharing, and share, from a place of just kind to give hope to others. If you are able to overcome it and get through it, somebody just can get strength just from hearing your story and your journey.
Agreed. I thank you so much, Christy, for
you
sharing
for
your story.
Me.
I love you because you're so encouraging. And that's how you have to be in this journey.
Yes.
We have to be encouraging. And I just encourage all of you to check on your loved ones. It doesn't matter what the diagnosis is, but definitely in this month, for those that are in your world that have breast cancer, check on your people.
Yes,
show them some love. Okay.
Absolutely.
And as we almost end this program, I want to remind you that the Guest House is a fabulous member of the charity partner club for the Bank of America Chicago Marathon. Yay! For the third year in a row, we're in the marathon, and we are so excited about it. So hopefully we can show this little clip to get you excited as well. I'm Dionne Smith, Director of Development for the Guest House.
My name is Paul Smith, and I'm here today to support the IMD Guest House Foundation. We've been trying to become a supporter of the marathon for a number of years.
I'm Jan Crucial. I'm the Manager of Volunteers and Programming at the Guest House. I love being a part of serving and being there for people in a way that is supportive to them during a really crucial time in their life.
Go Guest House! We're a wonderful critical charity. We're there to provide some comfort, some release from stress and anxiety. We love what we do. I love what I do. I'm so proud to be here at the Guest House.
Well, thank you all for joining us on this episode, and we hope that you will just continue to follow the Guest House. Go to guesthousechicago.org. We want you to, if you're interested in supporting our marathon team, you can go right to our website on the main slider, and you can click to make a donation for our team. And again, we want to thank Christy Russell for joining us, and thank American Cancer Society for their support of all of our cancer patients. And you're always a guest at the Guest House, so we'll see you next month.